Morning, ladies and gentlemen, I'm meadsy69. Welcome back to the channel. Now, we are up to tier 10, the last tank of this series when it comes to the highest DPM tanks in the game. So, we've had a look at all of them. We've had a look at from tier 4, tier 5, tier 6, tier 7, tier 8, tier 9, and now we are up to tier 10. So, what tanks are, or tank is the highest DPM in tier 10? So, there's a lot of high DPM tanks in tier 10. I'm not gonna lie, there is loads of tanks. The mediums, very high DPM. The Leopard 1, which is the highest DPM medium tank in the game, but of course the crown goes to Tank Destroy. Now, obviously, we've had a look at the tier 9, which is the SU-12254, which is the proper crown. That is the highest DPM tank in the game. Now, of course, the highest tier 10 DPM tank does actually lead on from the SU-12254. So we're looking at the Object 263. So in fact, there is two tanks that hold the crown in tier 10, the Object 263 and another tank that we are going to look at after this. So the Object 263, what is it like? We've recently done a video, so we don't really need to speak too much about the Object 263. Obviously, it's got a great gun and great DPM. So the DPM is sitting at 3,858, which only just beats the Leopard 1. Literally only just beats the Leopard 1 by minimal. So the Leopard 1 almost has the highest DPM in tier 10. But yeah, unfortunately doesn't. And the Object 263 and one other tank takes that crown from the Leopard 1. But yeah, to 3,856 DPM on this tank. But sadly, that's the only thing really this tank has going for it. I mean, the penetration's all right. The damage, 460 alpha's okay. Aim time, not great. Speed is very good at 50 kilometers per hour. It has only 4 degrees of gun depression, which makes this tank very, very difficult to play. Now, it took me freaking ages to try and get footage for this. So long, I gave up and I thought, you know, I'm just going to use a replay. I'm just going to use a replay because this guy right here will play the tank much better than I ever could. Obviously, it's got no gun depression at all. It has speed. It does have speed, and it used to be known as the YOLO wagon. But nowadays, you can't really use it as a YOLO wagon. It just doesn't perform that well on the battlefield. You need to be patient. You need to be very patient. And if you're used to playing the SU-12254, then you should learn how to be patient, because that is one patient tank. You've got to sit at the back with that tank and just absolutely farm the team. And that is what our guy is going to do here now. He's going to be very patient. Now, he has taken a shot, but that never fazed him. You know, yeah, I took a shot. I'm still going to stay here because what am I going to do? What else am I going to do? And that is what most people, or most battles that you have in the Object 263 is going to be. You're going to question yourself, like, what am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? Because it really suffers with the gun depression. There's not that much you can do with this tank unless you're on open ground that you can go forward. You can bully the mediums because you have better DPM than all the mediums. You've got good speed as well, so you will be able to keep up with them. But the traverse isn't the greatest. And if a medium tank gets around you, then they will be able to bully you. Now, you do have decent armor profile, which you are able to bounce some shots. People will always normally go for where your gun is, like around that section. But a lot of the times you will actually get some bounces, unless they are shooting APCR or heat or sort of premium round, that is able to get through. But a lot of the times it is actually very, very troll. But the only downfall really with this tank is, it is literally, what am I going to do? This tank should be called, what are you going to do? Because you just don't know, because there's only certain positions that you can get this tank in with no DPM, with no gun depression. You will struggle. You will struggle. If you get on an incline in any way, if you get on a ridge in any way, then you are really going to suffer with this gun, with this tank. You need to get it in a position, just like the SU-12254, you need to get it into a position where you can use that gun depression. well, not the gun depression, the DPM, and absolutely farm the enemy. Now, the other tank that we're going to look at on top of this that equals this, they literally both have exactly the same DPM, is, for me, the better Object 263. It's now better than the Object 263 in almost every way. So unless you can farm like this guy is going to do, it's now a 4 versus 3. Unless you can get yourself into a position where you can just constantly farm every 7 seconds, doing 460 alpha, 500 alpha every roughly 7 seconds, then yeah, you're not going to perform very well in the tank. And that is why I didn't perform, because there was just times where I couldn't get myself in that position, and every time I tried to get in the position, I would just get absolutely ripped. I would get ripped apart, completely ripped apart. But given the opportunity, if you're in a certain position that the enemy are not looking at you, they're looking elsewhere, and you're just able to farm, it is amazing, and it feels amazing. But the problem is, those opportunities don't come round often. They really don't come round often. So now, as you can see, you can still bounce, which you can. I've said that your armor profile can work, but yeah, it's got a speed, it's got a little bit of armor, give or take, and it's got gun, and it's got DPM. That is pretty much all this tank has got. Other than that, it is a difficult tank to play. It's a very, very difficult tank to play. A lot of people don't, even though this is one of the highest, or is the highest DPM tank in tier 10, people still struggle. And as I've said for the whole series, when we're looking at tanks with high DPM, it doesn't mean that the tank is good, or it doesn't mean that the tank is the best in its tier. Like this tank, for example, it's got the highest DPM in tier 10, but is the tank fantastic? No, it's okay. Put it in the right situation and it's okay, but apart from that, it's nothing spectacular about the tank. So yeah, DPM isn't everything. Now obviously there's just one tank left alive. Let's just fast forward it a little bit. So if you get the opportunity, you can really farm damage. If you, like this guy here, he's just making it so the Object 268 is not looking. He's going to obviously go for the tank that is in front of him, and then he's able to farm some shots into him. So that is basically all this guy did all battle. Well played though, because that is how you should play it. At the start of the map, he sat at the back of the map waiting to farm. He did farm, and then later on in the game, he moved on to his targets. He played a bit further forward, and then he managed to get these shots out. But the other tank on this, which equals the Object 263, is the newer kind of version of the 263, and of course that is the Badger. Now, when this tank was first into the game, a lot of people were saying how OP this Badger was, how strong it is. The armor profile is absolutely insane. But then people would kind of change their mind, like, yeah, it's not that strong. It's only good for one thing, and that's go and hold down. It's got gun depression, it's got DPM, and it's got frontal armor. But apart from that, it only has frontal armor. That is it. If tanks, it doesn't have traverse, it's not quick, it is very, very slow. So the only way you can really benefit playing this tank is on a ridge. And of course, Mines, being Mines, is the perfect map. Mines and Dead Rail are the perfect maps for a tank like the Badger. And that's where people used to get confused. They were like, oh my god, the Badger's OP. I've just come up against it on Mines and I can't penetrate it. Okay, but if you come up against it on any other map, then you're going to absolutely destroy it, because you're going to be able to get around it. You're going to be able to shoot the sides. Very, very easy. And in fact, this tank went from being one of the most OP tanks in tier 10 to then everyone saying, oh my god, the Badger's poor. The Badger is one of the worst tanks in tier 10. But then Wargaming actually gave it some love. They gave it DPM, and they gave it really good DPM, and so good that it is now joint first when it comes to DPM. So not only have you got that frontal armor, not only have you got the gun depression, but you've now got the DPM to really bully those guys that decide to push. You can just see that armor profile. I mean, you can't now because of the mouse, but you can just about see the armor profile, or hopefully we're going to see it a lot more against the enemy Badger. If you are hiding that lower plate, then it is a very, very difficult pen. And that is where people used to get confused, because they used to look at it and think, yep, I can't penetrate that guy, it's OP. Not always, you know, it's good at one thing, and that's go and hold down frontally. Other than that, it can't really do too much else. I mean, look at that armor profile. Almost impossible to penetrate. I mean, our guy here went for that cheek shot, but not a lot of people would have went for that shot. Of course, the lower plate, excuse me, the lower plate is weak, but now with the DPM that this tank has got, over 3,200, over 3,000, well over 3,000, yeah, insane, 3,800 in fact, the exact same as the Object 263. So back in the day, if people used to say, like, when this tank, or not even that long ago, before this was buffed, if you used to say, right, pick a tank, Object 263 or the Badger, people used to go with the Object 263 because it had that armor, it had that DPM, and it had that speed. This only had that frontal armor. But now this has got the DPM that the Object 263 has got, then all day long I would choose the Badger. There is no chance I would choose the Object 263 over the Badger. The Badger now, not only does it look insane, it plays insane. And with just a 7.2 second reload, with a 460 alpha gun, of course, it has the higher penetration HE as well. It hasn't got quite Hesh that, like the FV4202, the Death Star, hasn't got quite the Hesh that those guys has got. But I mean, look, you can comfortably, even when you're face on like this guy, this Vickers, he's not going to be able to penetrate him when you're like that. Obviously, bigger tanks like the Hori, the Jaegeru, yeah, they're going to be able to penetrate you nice and easy. But yeah, if you just move around, make it difficult for these guys to penetrate you, then you've got that DPM to attack those guys. And as much as you can, try to go for the tracks. Always try to go for the tracks, because by the time they have repaired the tracks, you'll be able to track them yet again. So our guy has managed now to farm up a 3.9k damage. He has lost a little bit of hit points, but he is now on his own against 3 tanks. Is he going to be able to farm up all this? Now, of course, there is one medium that he's going to have to look out for, because if he's facing this VK, and the Object 907 comes to the side, as you can see there, he is going to be able to penetrate him very, very easy. So he's gonna go for the Object. He's going to ignore the VK, because right now, yes, the VK has high alpha, but if he faces this Object 140, sorry, not 907, if he faces this 140, the 140 is going to struggle penetrating him. And that track shot there was just absolutely amazing. And you can see he really is struggling to penetrate him. But he's now in that situation where, yes, he's got the VK behind. He's not going to really be able to do too much. He does take care of that guy. He does get the bounce, but sadly, it's almost game over. But he did get another bounce. And again, he turned right at the last second. And now, because of the DPM, easy. Now it is just a 1 versus 1, 3,200 damage this guy's blocked. And that is without him actually being on the ridgeline. So this is now what this tank is capable of. So not only is it capable of blocking all this damage, it is capable of doing the damage as well. So 100% I would prefer the Badger over the Object 263. He does get very lucky with the AFK IS7 here, which just allows him to get a bit more damage for nothing with a minute left to go. So he does get very lucky there. He played it very, very well, however, and he does manage to get the win. So let me know your thoughts. Did you know it was going to be both of these tanks? Obviously, we kind of expected it to be the Object 263, but actually I thought the Leopard was king of the castle when it comes to tier 10 DPM. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, hopefully, guys, as you know, we've done this series because my wife would have gave birth by now. We haven't yet made the top 10 or the lowest DPM tanks in tier 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But hopefully I will have time to make them, and we're going to talk about each individual low DPM tank. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed this little series. I'll be back tomorrow with a new series, hopefully. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.